What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 5 of building a clone base. If you guys got the last couple weeks of updates, we actually managed to start and finish the base layer of the terrain, which took thousands of parts, mostly green brick, but all of our filler bricks have pretty much been used up in these slopes here that you see in front of you and underneath the bridge. We also got some pillars built under the bridge to hold it up, and they're holding in the bridge just by a couple jumper plates. We did a bunch of work outside of that, just getting everything in place and especially getting some of the water placed. But today I want to switch gears a bit and do a lot of smaller detail work, and that's going to actually start with the water. Got a little bit of a prototype there on the left. I'm just going to be using some trans blue tiles, which I had to dig out of the big bin of all the trans blue pieces. So we got some of those mixed in with all those trans blue cheese slopes, and hopefully we can get a nice looking water. So for the water, I'm actually going to be copying a building technique from Brixie. If you guys don't know him, he's a massive LEGO YouTuber with quite a big following, and he's got a massive LEGO city. And the other day he released an update on his harbor. There was a big body of water he had to cover up, and he used a bunch of pad wall pieces, which I have the same. I have all these trans blue cheese slopes and all these trans blue tiles, and if you mix them up and put them in all different directions, it can catch the light really nice, and I like the way it looks. Now, funnily enough, actually, while I'm on the topic of pad wall and stuff, I actually live in the same city as Brixie, and I've met him a bunch of times, and I've seen him, and he's a pretty cool guy. And it's funny because a lot of his updates, when he updates the pad wall in our city, I usually head over there and grab some of the parts that I see in his video, which is pretty cool. But anyways, I was just worried that I wouldn't have enough for this body of water, and I wanted to make sure that this left side was done first, and then if I have to scale back this right side, then I'll have to do that when the time comes. Man, you don't realize until you're actually doing this 1x tile work how tedious it really is. This is hyper time lapse sped up. This took me about 2.5 or 3 hours to cover all these studs, but I managed to do it, and I actually peeled the water back a bit. And once you see it finished, I think it looks awesome. Just the way it catches the light on every single angle, it looks very natural and sort of like some rough water. And the other thing is I had to peel back quite a bit of tiles because I was running out of the cheese slopes, but I think that's for the best just because of how it looks. But after I looked at it, I realized I had to switch up the creek to make it look the same. So I had to get the bridge out of there, which I'm thankful that it's modular, so I could just pop it right out. And then I got to work peeling those up and just putting them at a bunch of different angles just so we can have it looking the same. And it's such a cool way to do the water. I'll definitely do this in the future. And just like that, the water is complete, and I just love the way this looks. I'm especially glad I went back and changed the creek. When they're all facing one way, they all catch the light the same way, and you don't get that nice shine and sparkle, and it doesn't look very natural. So I'm happy with that. Now it's time to turn and shift focus back over here because I want to get some details done, get some botanical pieces put on, and put some more details onto those cliff faces that I sort of just capped off at the top of the plate. Now, this is nothing too crazy. I don't want to build it up a bunch, but I do want a little bit of a rock face and some caps to this rock cliff here. So I think that's pretty simple. And then of course we're going to build that tree back there afterwards. And then these are going to move for now because I want to do a little bit of rock work just in this area as well. Someone had commented last week saying I should mix in some rock work, sporadically around, and I think I'll definitely do that once we're doing finishing touches on the terrain. But just for this area here, I just want some little bit of rock patches. Now it's time to go back and put the details on these green areas. I want all those nice leaf and botanical pieces and foliage to really bring this some life. Now, in the past, I typically just got everything built and went layer by layer, and I would do all the detail work at the end, and I found it got really boring and repetitive that way. So what I'm trying to do is to put some details in here and there as I'm going through the project, just so I don't have to do it all at once, and that just kind of gets tiring. And then you guys get to see sort of the finished product as we go through it as well. So I think it's a good way to do it, and I'm definitely going to switch up and do it like that. So I'm really just trying to pack in as many pieces as we can into this back area. The other thing is I got a bunch of new pieces, and I'm really excited to use them, all these fern elements and stuff, which are very cool. And as you can see there, I rebuilt the tree prototype. It looks a lot better now. I just got a few more limbs on there, and I like the height of it, so that's good. And then I just got all these grass pieces with the leaves and everything, some spruce trees just to liven it up. And I think it's a good touch. I might go back and add more, but for now, that's about as much as we're doing for the foliage work. But now it's time to deal with this bridge, and I've thought a lot about how I want to do this. And first of all, I wanted to fill in the gaps just with some plate. It's going to get covered up, so it doesn't matter the color. And then we're going to go through with all of these dark tan 2x2 tiles. I have lots of them, so I'm just packing them in there as much as I can. Then of course we have to go in and fill in the rest with some of that medium nougat plate that I have, and I have all of it in 1x2. The only issue is that it's mixed into this giant bin of all my other 1x2 pieces, so I had to sort it out. Got about half a cup worth. I hope that's enough for this area of the bridge, or I'll have to obviously sort more, but I just hyperlapse this time lapse because this kind of stuff just takes a long time. Lots of pieces to put down, right? Like, I mean, there's probably a few thousand pieces there on the bridge deck, but there it is. And unfortunately, I had all these little 1x1 studs showing, but the parts collection came in clutch. I actually ended up having a bunch of the 1x1s for whatever reason, so I found those, filled in the gaps, and then there we have it. The bridge deck is finished. We're obviously going to be adding a ton of detail on the railings. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with the railings yet. Definitely going to be using some brackets and some grill pieces, maybe even some dark or light gray slopes on there. We'll have to play around with some different railing designs just to come up with what looks the best. I don't want them to be too big because it'll sort of shrink the scale of the bridge and it won't look quite right with the vehicles. The other thing is the ends are coming up a bit, so I'm gonna have to deal with that in the coming weeks. They're just binding a little bit. So now just a little bit of a progress update on the micro build, the initial plan, and what we've got. So we've got the road coming in and the bridge just like I planned. And then of course we got to start building the base and the walls and the city in the background there. I really want to get started on that next week. I also want to finish this cascading path. I'm just waiting on a big parts order coming in next week, so that's really going to help out with that. And then I also want to get started on the farm, which is going to be really cool once we get some of those crops in there as well. The other thing I want to start next week is the wall, and that's going to be pretty tricky. I'm waiting on a bunch of slopes because I want to add in some depth into the wall, so I'm waiting on that parts order like I said. We're going to have to deal with all that next week. It's a challenge I'm ready for, and I'm excited to tackle it. Anyways guys, it's going to wrap up episode 5 for us today. Hope you enjoyed today's update, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.